All right, guys, we're deep enough into nutrition coaching at this point, and you've had enough tasks that we can start to introduce a concept which should be able to guide your trajectory. A lot of people think that foods are like binary, right? Like it's black or white. It's a good for you food or it's a bad for you food, and there's no in between. So either I'm eating something that's really, really healthy and I hate it, or I'm having something that's just total junk food and I know that I'm not supposed to be having it, but I really love it and I'd rather have that. So what we want to do is try to take some of this binary thinking away and think about things more on a spectrum. Now, most foods are not necessarily like bad for you, like directly harmful, unless we're talking about like poison, right? Or maybe nails, right? Things that aren't really edible. So like even like if you remember Strong Bad, he had his teen girl squad, and there's that scene in there where it's like, what's her face ate staple sauce, a heaping bowl of staple sauce. Yeah, that would be bad for you. I think we can go ahead and binary that into the bad zone. But when it comes to like long term improving your outlook and your health and your diets and losing weight, if that's the goal, or like recomposing your body, like putting on more muscle, dropping some fat, and then being healthy overall, that binary thinking is not going to be helpful because we have to apply this across almost everything that you eat. Now, you're probably getting this in a like the smarter carbs lesson or one of the building block lessons. But let's talk about something that's easy to make an example of because this will demonstrate the spectrum really well. We've got coffee and drinks that people tend to drink for energy or as a pick me up. On the one end of the spectrum, the much worse for you side would be something like a frappe or a frappuccino or whatever they call these things. I don't even know what they're called, but like you know what it is. You've seen it. It's got the whipped cream on top. It's got a ton of sugar and a bunch of like syrup flavor pumps in it, just drizzled with chocolate or caramel or something like that. It's got a nominal amount of coffee in there, right? But I don't think we could really call this coffee. We can do better. So let's say we want to bump it a little bit along the spectrum to something a little more healthy. Well, what about a like an iced latte or something that still probably has a decent amount of sugar in it? It's probably got a lot of dairy in it still, or whatever your dairy substitute is. So it's carrying more calories than even just a regular latte, but it's a significant improvement from whatever the frappe was, which is basically just a slightly coffee flavored dessert. Now we could bump that a little further along the spectrum to something a little more healthy. What about a regular latte? It's probably got whole milk, or maybe you make it, with skim milk, and maybe you add a little sugar, and maybe you take a little bit of sugar out. But that's going to be much better for you than the other side of the spectrum. And we can take that a little further. What if we had a regular coffee with just a little bit of cream in it? Or what if we had black coffee today? Now, I'm not normally a black coffee drinker, but I've got my like 1 times food equals yellow kettlebell. If you know, you know mug today. And I'm just having black coffee today. And that's the next step, right? So we could take our coffee all the way on the spectrum from much less healthy for you to much healthier for you, and I still get to have my coffee. And then arguably goal dependent, maybe green tea rounds out this spectrum. If you have especially anxiety issues or you need a gentle boost of energy without like a significant, kick from coffee, you don't need like the big energy dump. That's goal dependent. That's performance dependent. But applying this spectrum, let us move a couple notches over as opposed to like having to make all of a sudden a snap change where you were that person having a ridiculously sugary drink and now like you're getting forced into a diet and you have to have black coffee. We can apply this to every ingredient across the board, and we're going to end up trying to aggregate gains of 1%, 5%, 20% along the way. And when we do this with what we drink, and with the proteins that we have, and with the smarter carbs that we choose to eat, and with how we build our meals, you're going to find that, first off, this magic thing happens, which is your palate starts to change. Instead of going through shock therapy, you begin to prefer things. When I was a teenager, somebody offered me a caramel macchiato as my first official coffee, and I thought that's what people drank. And so it took me a while, but now my palate has adjusted to something a lot healthier, and I actually prefer it that way. So we aggregate our gains across all the different building blocks in the meals, and you'll find that those improvements really, really stack up, especially when we do it consistently. All right, introduction to the spectrum. Let's use it as a tool in our tool belts as we're getting better along this nutrition coaching journey. All right, talk to y'all soon.